Hello again, constant learner. Bit later than I promised, but better late than never. This is the second part of Lesson 0, the introductory sessions designed to get you up to speed before we start the proper lessons. Get everyone in an even keel. God, Lesson 0, why not just go into Lesson 1? What a pretentious douchebag. But it's not the case. You see, I was teaching on a university course in full stack development quite recently. And one of the things that really surprised me was just how many people didn't have a base understanding of really quite simple computing theories and tasks. I'm talking about the difference between, say, using a phone and using a computer. And I know that to some of you that might seem absurd. However, imagine I wanted to be, say, a car mechanic. Thing is, I have no idea how the engine works. If something goes wrong with it, I'm absolutely clueless. I mean, you could tell me this thing runs on, I don't know, carrots and lolly sticks. I would be none the wiser. Cars are incredibly complex machines. In fact, most of us have little understanding of how they even work. We probably don't even really understand how the tyres keep air in them, let alone how the engine works. Yet we can still drive them, and we can still interact with the technological infrastructure that's been built around them. Red means stop, green means go, pedestrians go here, you walk across the street on the wee stripy bit. And the point is that we don't need to have a fuller understanding of how computers work in order to use them, in the same way that we don't need a fuller understanding of cars and how to use them. Most of the interactions that we have with these machines are actually quite superficial. Email, internet browsing, Netflix. If we're doing work, it's usually in Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint, that kind of thing. However, to be a developer, we do need to go a little bit deeper. And with that in mind, let's talk through the tools that you're going to need to get started in web development. 1. We need a computer. Seems obvious, I know. What do we mean by a computer? I mean, could we use, say, a mobile phone? Those things are pretty advanced. And with some pushing and prodding, potentially we could link up a wireless keyboard, we could even link up a mouse. But it's painful. Okay, what about an iPad then? And surely that'll work. Just link a keyboard to it and you link your mouse, it's got a nice big screen, it's even got a touch screen. No, you're going to want a computer. When I say a computer, I mean a desktop machine, Mac, PC, whether it's running Windows or Linux, it doesn't matter. We need a proper computer. And not one of those, this kind of strange little Google things that they make that are sort of like laptops but actually aren't. No, we're not going to use that. We're not going to use that. In fact, I get this laptop for £20. I mean, that's practically nothing. It's got 8 gig of RAM, a 512 gig SSD, and a really great screen. The only thing it doesn't have is a working battery. But who cares? It's not like I'm going to go anywhere. All you need to do, get a scabby old laptop, install Linux on it, and you're good to go. Next thing we're going to need, now we've got a computer set up, is a code editor. And I'm going to advise that you go for Visual Studio Code. Don't mess around with the other stuff. Trust me, Visual Studio Code does everything you need, and it's free. It's got an incredible amount of functionality out the box, and if it doesn't have the functionality you need, you can just install some plugins and you're set. Quick note here, you may have seen something called Visual Studio, which is not a code editor. In fact, it's a full IDE, an integrated development environment. What that means is that not only is it a code editor, but it's a code editor with built-in debugging, compilers, and a bunch of other tools that we really don't need at the moment. It's also huge to download, even the free version. So stay clear of that for now. You might need it further along in your career, but for now, we're keeping things nice and simple. Last on our list is a Terminal Emulator. And if you're wondering what that is, that's going to give us access to the command line. And if you're wondering what the command line is, that thing that looks really cool in movies. You know, that where hackers basically tap away like mad and make cool stuff happen. It's old school, but it's necessary. We won't necessarily be using it right away, but you are going to need it going forward. If you're running Windows, then you can simply download Windows Terminal. Again, it's free. I've included a link or the description section or whatever you want to call it. Using a Mac? Oh, you lucky dog you. Well, you can use iTerm. It's fast, it's classy, and it's free. And again, I've included a link down below. Using Linux? Pretty sweet. Let's be honest, you know exactly what to do. I mean, it's built in. So now you've got your computer set up, you've got your command line installed along with Visual Studio, and you're kind of ready to get rocking. There is just one more thing we need to look at before we get started learning HTML proper, and that's naming files and file management. This is an essential skill to have moving forward, and I'll be looking at it in depth in our next session, which will be coming up momentarily. See you then.